Hello and welcome to the Churros y Tácticas Podcast. I'm your host, Kiyan Sobhani, joined by my co-host, Diego Lorijn, who was giving me thumbs down for the intro. What do you want me to be excited about? I don't know. Well, you want me to be excited for you guys over there?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm like in party mood, baby. Why am I not doing the intro? If anything,
you should have.
What is this?
This is because
we go by La Liga, right?
Well, not necessarily. Champions League is more important, but we gotta wait till the second leg is finished.
Okay.
So, listen, I know a lot of you guys logged on Monday, waiting for Diego and I to start the stream. Apologies for that. Little did we know that Diego had to drop out last second because he was tied up at Barca Studios. This is Diego's first week back at Barca Studios, so
yeah,
we figured it out now. I think we're gonna avoid this happening again. We have a schedule now. We have figured it out, so that won't happen again. And it might have actually worked better because we're recording today.
I think so.
Now we have like some incredible things that happened since Monday, namely our two favorite teams, Real Madrid, Barcelona, respectively. Real Madrid at the Bernabeu, one of the most entertaining games I can remember at the Bernabeu in a long time, especially for neutrals. I think it was entertaining for us too, but it also involved nerves and some heart-stopping moments, but nevertheless extremely entertaining for neutrals. And then yesterday, Barcelona went into Paris and won off the back of an incredible defensive performance with some lethal transition attacks. Came up with a huge 3-2 victory. So, listen, man, I'm happy for you. Congrats. Big week for you back at Barca Studios. Barcelona with a big win in the Champions League.
You said it.
Yeah.
What a way to kick off round 2 at my stint with Barca. Yeah, it's great, man. It's very exciting. And today was, especially how we ended my time or our time. It wasn't just me that start working at studios. It was 150 of us. But the way that ended, was such on a sour note. And also it was kind of reflective of how the state of the club, the team was at the time. Although, I mean, we did win the season, but I don't know. It was just a weird time for sure, institutionally. Not that side has gotten much better, but certainly from a team perspective, it's like we're hitting now at end of the season where we would hope, we would be at this point, in particular in the European competition, of course. I mean, the overcoming against Napoli in the round of 16s was a good sign. And I said at the time, let's hope that we can build on this and leave Paris. I mean, once the draw was made, leave, because any team that we would have faced would have been difficult for that matter. But the fact that we were drawn against PSG, the history between the two clubs now, and I love these new narratives that are coming together in these Champions League editions. Obviously, Real Madrid and City has become a bit of a clásico as well in the Champions League. And we're like now moving, if Madrid Bayern is a historic clash, certainly Barca, say Chelsea is a historic clash. And now with PSG and City, there's these new teams, it's new money on the block, man. It's new money that has entered the European space. And in the cases of Barca and Madrid, we are building this new rivalry between these four clubs. And in the case of PSG, I mean, did you see the reception that we got, dude? Did you see the pregame?
No, I actually I joined like 2 minutes into the game, so I didn't see that.
Let me paint you a picture. I mentioned as well, I teach an English module in the master's course of sports journalism here at the Pompeo, and that is every Wednesday, and that is from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. So once I finish at studios, I literally rush across town to make sure that I get to the class on time, give a 2-hour class. And yesterday, and then normally just go home like a normal civil person driving through traffic. Yesterday, I was thinking I'm like, I am the fastest person definitely in an automobile at this moment in time in the city of Barcelona, in the Catalan capital, because I was whizzing through traffic. You would have given, if a police officer was following me, I don't think I would have a driver's license today. Honestly, like it was
any cops in Catalonia who listen to this podcast right now are taking notes.
Listen, there's no evidence. I'm making all of this up. It's just fiction, baby. But to get back to the story, I'm whizzing through traffic. I have to not only cross town, but go take a bit of the highway, go through tunnels to get to the outskirts of Barcelona, get home, run up the stairs, walk through the door. My kids are dressed, decked out in Barca gear, and I'm catching like the last minute of the pregame. And I walk in like so rushed. I'm so excited for this fucking game, Kiyan. 4 years it's been, man. Like before I continue with this story, I know that a lot of particular Madridistas, you doused a little bit of cold water in my face by saying that there's still the second half, and yes, we're not yet in the semifinals. But
I didn't mean to. I honestly think you guys are through, but I don't know. I'm just trying to.
No, but I want to paint you a picture of how excited
why.
The Barcelonismo, the culés were to like experience a game of this magnitude. 4 years the last time that we were in this position. So it was just a lot of hype. I walked through the door. My son is like, he sees me, he's like tearing up. He's so emotional, excited because he knew it was going to be the first time that he was going to watch a match for its entirety at that late at night. You know, my son is 9 years old. Normally he doesn't stay up until 11, especially on a school day. But I told him the night before, I'm like, hey, tomorrow you and me, we're going to stay up. Even little sister stayed up until halftime. She's 4 or 5. And anyway, it was just like all this excitement. The game was so to get back to that. So apparently, and I was hearing it on the radio, and my son was telling me about it as well. The ultras, the PSG ultras, like they had this spectacular pre-game show, almost mosaic music. It's all coordinated, of course, of Star Wars, where we were Darth Vader, like the music, and the complete. They are the whatever they're called, the Luke Skywalker and his crew. And Yoda and everything. They had this awesome mosaic. And it was just like, how should I say it? It was just this great story that was unraveling again, and a really special night, man. I don't know if I'm doing it justice. I'm hoping painting the right picture, but the way that the game, obviously kicked off, the way it transcribed, the way it progressed with Barca going up first, then the 2 successive goals back-to-back from PSG. It was very similar to what we saw in the Bernabeu, if anything, you know? There you go. Yeah. Nice one. And then for Barca to have a remontada and come back and actually not just draw. Like I was telling my son, I'm like, hey, because my prediction was 2-1, Kiyan, before. Had we done this podcast on Monday,
Barca?
No, for PSG. I was like, okay. I'll take a 2-1 loss. And I was telling my son, I was like 2-1. I was like, that's what I was predicting. I'm like, we just need to get out of here alive. Hold on to this. And there were really sufferable minutes, man. Now you saw the game, right? I mean, you wouldn't have missed this one.
No, I watched it. Yeah, I definitely watched it.
And it could have, we had to endure some suffering for sure. And I'm very proud of the boys in the back. I mean, man, the defense, Araujo. I want to grab every single player, give them a big kiss. Because
I don't think anyone had a bad game.
No.
If they did, it's not something like that was like, oh my God, he was terrible, that I can remember. I think you were talking about suffering. Oh, the period where PSG scored 2 quick goals and it became 2-1. That was the moment where I was like, oh, this could be like, are you Barca buckling a little bit, you know?
Buckle. I'm like, stay alive.
Yeah.
Up against the ropes.
But Barca was by far the better team. Like I don't know if this is that surprising. Really. I mean, look at who PSG's coach is. Look. Mind you, this is before the game. after the game, I'm pretty sure Lucho was even more hyped. Like,
Dude,
yes,
did you see him the
baby.
day? Did you see
Yes,
him
we
the day
lost.
before? Did you see him the day before in the press conference? He wasn't that
Yeah,
friendly.
I was gonna
My
ask you
God.
about that. Why do you think he said that? And actually, I was kind of like, so I saw this video, and this was on Reddit, and the headline on Reddit was, uh, Luis Enrique meets Xavi in the tunnel, and I was like, oh sweet, I'm gonna click on this. I want to see a fight. I want to be like Xavi confronting Lucho for his words, what he said. But no, they were like hugging it out. I was like, oh, well, that's disappointing. What were your
You
thoughts when
seem
Lucho
like,
said that?
and do you know what they say? That like, have you followed the exchange?
No.
So he squares up like this, Lucho, and then Xavi's like, "Que agresivo." He's like, all this aggression. You're so fucking aggressive. And he's
That's funny.
like, they start
So
hugging.
they made a joke about it.
Yes, and then they start, and then he goes, "Are you gonna bitch and complain today?" And then Xavi's like, "Ah, fuck you, whatever." And he's like, "I'll grab you by your balls. I'll rip your balls off if you do."
That's great. I like it. I gotta respect the exchange. I like how they dealt with it.
Yeah.
So I want to know your thoughts though. Like,
Well, I was really disappointed, man. I was
Mm.
super disappointed. I was very like, what the fuck is going on here? Lucho, what are you doing, man? Like, it was unexpected. Then you start to obviously wonder the whole mind game aspect of it, and you're like, this is, Lucho at his finest. Putting on a show, genuinely he doesn't feel like that, but he's like, I'm backing the evil side now. I have to, make my team believe. At the end of the day, he wants to win the Champions League. Like, that is what he's brought in for. Anything less he'll be deemed a failure. So
No, for the club, not for him personally. Barca winning the
right.
Champions League is a success for him. He wants to be eliminated. We both know that.
Well, anyway, so but he was he I felt it was I felt deeply offended is what I did. I'm like, if I'm Xavi, I'm fucking texting him right now going, what the fuck was that? He could have, and I'll tell you why, Kiyan. I feel like Xavi, who in the press conference right after Luis Enrique comes out and says, we are very good friends. We have a good relationship. He is genuinely surprised by it. If they are that good friends, then you would expect your good friend to understand the position that you're in, the fragile position that you're in, if you're Xavi Hernandez. Lucho knows very well how ruthless the press has been on Xavi, how ruthless the press is generally, and especially with Luis Enrique, right? So I felt, and the spotlight that Xavi's under, Xavi, who has announced that he will be departing Football Club Barcelona at the end of the season, that is, been receiving it. And the easy, like the diplomatic friend as a friend thing to say is, we both represent the Barca style. He was a teammate and a player of mine that understood it to perfection, better than any other player that I have coached. He's not saying anything wrong. He's not saying anything that is not correct and accurate. And instead, he started taking these egotistical and nonsensical shots. Mind you, who did Lucho have, on that team? He had seasoned players.
Yeah.
We don't need to say the names, etc. Xavi took this team ninth and is building a crop of young players in a very short time. Anyway, it was mind games. It was what it was. What did you think?
That's the thing. Like, well, I didn't really think too much about like, is this true or is this not true?
Right.
I thought more about like, why would he say that? And like, I guess the one scenario is it's just playful banter. Maybe that's all it was. Maybe we read too much into it. Maybe like this is something that Lucho even told Xavi privately. Like, as like if you and I,
he seemed genuinely surprised, Xavi.
Oh, okay.
After
okay.
it, yeah.
All right. Well, that changes things. Is that water? Nice. All right, I'm proud of you. So I think like if I say something to you on the podcast,
it's a liter of vodka.
I honestly I just wanted to make sure. Just didn't want YouTube to like ban us. Like this guy's just chugging back an entire glass bottle of vodka, and he has his shades on. God knows what else is in his system. What if like because if I tell you something on the podcast, because you and I are not scared to tell each other anything, right? And we're not really worried about offending each other. But if I tell you something, that kind of like gives me a license, I think, to like say that same thing I told you publicly to your face. Also say it publicly somewhere else. Do you know what I mean? Like if I tell you, Diego, you're biased, you're more biased than me, I can later go on another podcast and say Diego's more biased than
me. Yeah, okay.
Your face. I didn't say it behind your back. So I was the way I thought it was like maybe Xavi and Lucho have been talking about this, and Lucho was like, man, my style of play is like more Barca DNA than yours is. And then I gave him the right to say it publicly. You know what I mean?
Right. The thing is, had he said it in a more playful tone, like if somebody asked you, hey, you're on another podcast and they're like, who do you think represents the values of Churros better, or who do you think is a better podcaster, you or Diego, or who, whatever, and you're like, oh, me. I mean, obviously look at the numbers, look at my social media following, look at all the content I put. This is I'm building a very good case for you right now to say that you're better than me, but no, like if you say it in a joking way, then I'm like, you know. But if you're like seriously saying that and putting that out there, I'd be like, Kiyan, what's that about? What are you doing?
The better question of like who represents Churros better, me or you? The better question is, what is Churros? Like philosophically, what is Churros? What is our identity? Mm-hmm. Just two degenerates talking. That's our identity.
It's two cultures clashing and coming together, two opposites that are trying to unite through this medium and exchange thoughts and opinions and impressions, and do so in a playful, banter, degenerate way. There's no formalities here. It's a safe space.
Well, we're gonna work on this. Okay, we got to work on this off air.
Why don't we ask our audience? By the way, how are you guys like? This is estoy estrenando mi gorrito. I'm premiering what is going to be my summer hat, my summer look. Really, these glasses are not going to come off the whole summer. Neither is this hat. Let me know what you think, and let us.
Kind of a mix between. The thing is, I can't really see, but it looks from here like a mix between a French toupee and like that was made by a hippie in Las Ramblas.
Huh. Well,
but it's nice.
It was definitely made by a hippie. I don't think I bought it in south of France, so I don't know if the Ramblas is its origin, but yeah, man. And let us know what you think the Churros philosophy is. But so, Kiyan, to get back to more exciting stuff, footballing stuff, it ended 3-2. I want to talk about Madrid City as well, but just get some final thoughts on you of this game. I agree that nobody on the team had a bad game. There was definitely a moment of scare where, as you rightly pointed out, Barca was up against the ropes. We had to suffer through it. And the changes proved vital. Andreas Christensen, who was celebrating his birthday, by the way, on the day, and scored the winning goal. He won't be available because of a yellow card accumulation, as won't Sergio Roberto be. But the good news and the surprising news was that Frenkie and Pedri. Frenkie, we had an inclination he'd be back, but for Pedri to get minutes and for his first touch to be that pass to a Rafinha that scored an awesome goal, again, to make the parallel, to draw the parallel with the City game. Fede Valverde scoring that volley, as did Rafinha. Similar goal, different positions, obviously, but a beautiful pass from Pedri to find Rafinha. Rafinha, who I recently said, yes, I feel like he is the most underrated player. And I think with the passing of the games, especially these games, he did the same against Napoli, was you know, detrimental. He was vital, one of the uh, one of the difference makers of the games. He scored a brace yesterday and did a little ode to Ronaldinho in the goal. Did you see that? He did the Dino dance because did you see Dino in the stands?
No.
Yeah, Dino was there and he was all good vibes.
I saw that Neymar made a comment on the Rafinha IG post.
Oh, okay.
Basically, was like mimicking the celebration in like a supportive way. Like,
Right.
yeah.
And it was great to see Ronaldinho there. And yeah, just no, I just want to know your thoughts. Any thoughts on individual players? I think that Rafinha is certainly somebody who is making his case that, hey, is he a superstar, the likes of Neymar and Ronaldinho, like we just mentioned? I think the answer is no. But is he a fucking damn fine, good player and certainly worth being a Barca player, which I think so many people were questioning whether he's or not he's Barca material? I would also give it a definitive yes.
I think he's Barca material as a squad player, but not as a star player.
Right.
But I think, well, going back to your question about what did I think, like, well, Koundé, Araujo, Kubarsi, fantastic.
Mbappe was gone.
Mbappe was really poor. PSG were just terrible from start to finish. I just think this was interesting. I wanted to bring this by you. I thought this was your best game of the season, given what was at stake. If you factor that in.
Okay.
This is the way you should be playing in the Champions League. Like just devastating transition attacking football.
No,
and
it depends on the players. It depends on which players you have.
But that's the point. That's the point. This is what I've been telling you is that Barca need to be malleable based on who they're playing, who's in the lineup, who's healthy for their own side. This is what works in the Champions League. It's like you guys were airtight on defense, and every time like that ball would go to Lamine Yamal on the right side, PSG were scrambling. They didn't know what to do. I mean, that part of that is like PSG were just. I couldn't believe how much space they gave Lamine Yamal, like in that area behind Nuno Mendes. It was disastrous defending. But this was a huge omen. It wasn't like a 3-2 win where you guys were exposed. It was a 3-2 win where you clearly were the better team. And that's a good sign for the second leg. And as I said this from the beginning, like I'm very envious of your position of being on that side of the bracket. I'm very envious, bro. You guys have a clear path to the final. Because if Atletico beats Borussia Dortmund, you're already in the final.
You don't think like the Colchoneros are obviously drooling for a matchup against Barca.
Like hell they should be. Of course, well, maybe they are because they want Barca to be in the final. You don't understand. You're this side of the bracket. Lucho wants you to be in the final, and the Atletico wants you to be in the final. You're in, bro. You just have to not fuck this up. You're in. You just have to not fuck it up. And so far, so good. Unless Mbappe really goes to a different level at the Camp Nou and like basically single-handedly does this, he does not have enough support in this team at all.
That is bullshit. And I gotta stop and call it bullshit.
Okay, all right.
How can you say that a team that has been built to win the Champions League, that is its one and only objective, and then say, and the amount of money, and then say Mbappe has no help on that team? First of all,
you know who else is built to be good? Chelsea.
Did you see Dembele?
Just because you want to build it to be good doesn't mean you're actually good. They've made terrible decisions for years. Look at their midfield. Dude. It's terrible.
I think
Vitinho,
PSG's record
and Fabian. That's who you. As Marco Asensio.
I always said. Well, that was a bit of a mistake, wasn't it? I thought Vitinho. Listen, Vitinho was very good yesterday, man. Vitinho was good.
Man.
I thought Mendes was good.
You're looking at that midfield on paper and telling me that you're scared of that midfield?
What did I say? Or even when the draw was made, I said we have no shame. We have nothing to feel inferior about and have some sort of complex when we compare the midfield to the defense and the goalkeeper. I always said that Barca, we stand a chance with the names that we have on our squad. But that doesn't take away from the fact that PSG has been a winning machine, goal scoring machine, 27 wins in a row or something crazy like that, home and away. And yes, okay,
Look at their
League on.
Champions
Yes,
League this
okay, League
season
on.
compared to
I
Liga. They
understand.
finished
I
second in
understand.
their group behind Borussia Dortmund.
I understand. But to dismiss that team, to say that they are a bunch of nobodies,
I am
is going
dismissing
way
it.
too
I'm
far.
absolutely doing that. I'm
First of all,
showing ultimate disrespect. That team,
Dembele.
look at their team. It's not a supporting cast that's going to win the Champions League or even remotely become a contender.
Anyway, I
And it
mean,
hasn't
listen,
been for years.
you can now whitewash this victory, but the truth is that everybody, when this draw was made, was giving PSG as heavy favorites, 90% that it was going to go. Nobody gave us a shot, and even less so at the Parc des Princes in Paris, where we fucking walk away with a 3-2 victory. I'm
It's a
so
great
proud.
win.
You know when the last time was that Barca scored 3 goals away in the Champions League?
Don't tell me. Hold on. Holy shit. I don't know. Tell me.
2015, when we beat PSG 3-1, I think it was, at home in the Parc des Princes, when we won the treble. And
Yeah, I was gonna guess either PSG or Juve or someone, but I wasn't sure.
But I mean,
I'm not discrediting
we
you. I
will
told you
see.
guys were the
We will.
better team. You guys were fantastic.
I
But
still don't know. I'm still very, I still suffer from PTSD. It's true. I'm staying humble. I'm obviously excited, but I know that there's still another game
yeah,
to go.
you look really humble with your gun signal. We went into Paris, bang, 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 3 goals.
We did. Well, we did. Bang, bang, bang.
I thought you guys were gonna beat Eintracht Frankfurt too when you came back to the Camp Nou that year.
Why you got to bring up wounds, huh? Why do you need to
Because I'm insecure.
dig up holes?
I'm insecure.
I love it. Thank you. That's what churros is for, baby. Let it out. Well, now let's move on over to the other game. Like you said,
Wait,
I
before we do
thoroughly
that,
enjoyed it. I hugely
before we do
enjoyed it.
that,
Oh, okay.
I want to talk about Mono Burgos's racist comment at the end. And I didn't look. I saw that you tweeted about it, and I didn't really know what was going on because obviously we don't have the Spanish feeds here.
Yeah.
And I've been practicing Spanish every day. I have the Duolingo app. I'm like on like a 100-day streak at this point.
There you go.
When I go to Spain, I only speak Spanish, even if it's difficult, even though it's wrong. Like at times, I still I'm trying,
Push
right?
yourself. Good.
I listened to Mono Burgos is what he said, and I had no idea what he was saying. I don't know if he was speaking fast, so I still didn't get it even after I watched
The
it.
accent, the Argentinian accent is difficult. Yeah.
But then I saw your tweet explaining what he said, and I was like, that's ridiculous. So apparently he's already resigned from Movistar.
Yeah.
So I thought it was important to bring that up because for obvious reasons. And I don't know if this actually happened, but I saw a report that Barca and PSG both refused to talk to Movistar because of the comments, which was interesting.
Yeah. So exactly, Kiyan. So actually, these comments by Germán Mono Burgos, the ex-Atletico assistant coach and goalkeeper, was in the pre-match. And like I just told you, in the beginning, I missed the entirety of the pre-match. So I only caught wind of this after the game. When in the post-match, Susana Wash, the host, the main host, she comes out and says, excuse me, not the main, not Susana. It was actually the pitch side reporter who gave a statement and says, just a heads up, I'm not going to do justice. I have to say he explained the position of Barca very well, but said Football Club Barcelona and PSG both teams will not be attending us for any post-match comments, given the statements that were made in the pre-match warm-up by one of the panel members with regards to Lamine Yamal.
Yeah.
Comments, and again, I'm sort of paraphrasing here, comments that were very unfortunate, out of place, and I hope, so he's speaking for himself, we will get an apology from, or something. Anyway, it was like a completely out of context. I like I said, I didn't catch wind of any of this. So when I heard this, I was like, what the hell's happening? Why is Barcelona coming out? What comments were made? So then we cut from the reporter to the studio, and there the hostess is like, yes, Mona Burgos is here and he wants to give an apology. So he kind of says in a very clumsy way, I'm not as eloquent as the pitch side reporter. However, I apologize for anybody that I offended with my comments. And then they kind of pick up and they just go through the post-match show, leaving the spectators like me wondering what was said. Then I go on Twitter and I hear bits of the pre-match warm-up show. It turns out that at the end of the warm-up, or throughout the warm-up, Lamine Yamal had been pointed out with these little lasers from the stands. And at some point, Lamine Yamal, he's walking away he's basically walking back to the locker. He's done his warm-up and he's juggling the ball. And the panel is kind of commenting on him juggling the ball. And they're like, hey, look at him. Lamine Yamal, 16 years old, he's juggling. And then Mono Burgos, out of nowhere, says, if things don't end up well for him, he will end up at a traffic light.
Begging for money.
Right. Begging for money or doing tricks for money. Comments that then Susana and kind of hear Jorge Valdano is there as well. They start laughing as well. And it's just also the laughs, you're just, everything just really felt really wrong.
Somehow that the laughs actually sat a little bit worse with me than the actual comments.
Yes.
It was kind of like, you remember when Rubiales was giving his speech and you see Luis de la Fuente clapping and smiling like an idiot?
Yeah.
Bothered me.
Yeah, bothered me greatly as well. And look, and what is hugely aggravating me at the moment, and I say aggravating in a very serious way, is how so many comments are not justifying, but many people, and I have to point a critical finger at my people, at my Spanish people, still don't see the problem with it. And they are kind of calling it a snowflakey affair. You're made out of crystal. And I'm like, if you don't see how misplaced, how wrong, you might be able to debate me to say that wasn't racist. And I will give you that. Maybe. Even though I think that there are clear also racial implications in this, or at least that you could draw. But let's put racism to the side. It's definitely very classist, because you wouldn't say that to, let's say, who else was out there on the field? Marco Asensio. He wouldn't have said that, I feel, about many other players that were there. Lamine Yamal, he is...
Would he have said it about Kubarsi?
Correct. Exactly. Kubarsi. That's, Lamine Yamal comes from immigrant parents, Moroccan, I think it's Ecuador, his dad, not 100% sure. But it's, I don't know. It's just all wrong. And, you can't say that, especially, or what makes it especially bad as well, is you're talking about a 16-year-old kid, who still has his whole life ahead of him. Nobody expects him to be Messi, but to say that if things don't go well, no club would, he'll, and I get it's a joke, but still, he'll be at the side of a street light playing, doing tricks for money. It's just so wrong, man. In this professional environment, this is a nationally televised program. I'm glad he's fired. I was absolutely disgusted and outraged. I'm happy that Barca, decided not to attend them, and that's 100% backed up by UEFA. I think in the case of PSG, obviously it's in their interest. It's kind of like, yeah, we're not going to go neither. I mean, after a loss, I'm sure a lot of players weren't really thrilled to have to attend the press anyway. But that those kind of comments just have no place. And if you think that those of us that take offense are being snowflakey, then I'm sorry, you're part of the fucking problem. If you don't see a problem in this, then you're part of the problem.
So your frustration in seeing some of the reaction from the fans too, and other people even within Barca, that's the same frustration I feel with people who excuse the stuff that's directed at Vinicius. And rather than being kind of frustrated about it, I just use it as like, okay, great. Now this is an opportunity to see who else gets exposed with all this, right? You kind of see, this is why what I said a couple of weeks ago is like, you see like who gets exposed from the media, who gets exposed from the fans. And like, I know you don't, I know you kind of push back on the idea before that Spain is a racist country. And I'm not here saying that Spain is a racist country.
I've never pushed back on Spain being a racist country, Kiyan. It's something that has always been very obvious to me, coming from, having had an international upbringing. I've always had, whether it's cringe moments or moments where, between me and my sisters, we're just looking at each other and go, wow, this is, they're just behind in many things.
Yeah.
That's always been okay. I've never shied away from that. Or not wanted to admit that, Kiyan.
Well, I just wanted the reason I bring this up, because there's a lot like, and I'm not sitting here, I've never sat here. I don't think anyone who claims this is saying this either, but just to make it clear, no one is saying that everyone in Spain is racist.
No.
What I think we are saying, and it was kind of proven a little bit more last night, even though it's been proven for years and years and decades, like there's a lot of ingrained racism in Spain. And that was another example of it. And I and since we last spoke about Vinicius, I mean, there have been instances in Spain, whether it's at the Metropolitano or at the Montjuic, even in where Vinicius is not even there. He's like in Madrid in his home, and people are chanting "Vinicius die, Vinicius die."
Yeah.
And we still have to like sit here and be like, oh, he's provoking and all this. Like, if he wasn't an asshole, then none of this would have happened. No one would be asking him to go die and all this. Like, what?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? What are you defending here? Like, and so, anyways, that just comments like what we heard last night are just kind of part of it. And like, not to defend UEFA and anything.
That's just real quick. You're talking about radicalized fans. You're talking about very often right-wing fans that you see still in the Bernabeu. You see them still in the Montjuic as well. Like,
you see them everywhere.
But to hear that from a quote unquote professional on national TV is like, it's jaw-droppingly disgraceful and embarrassing.
It's great that he's gone. I'd like to see, like, the thing is, this was at a UEFA level. Within Spain, the punishments are so different. Pedrerol is still on that stupid show. UEFA was like, okay, you don't want to talk to Movistar? Great, we support you. What happened when Rayo Vallecano walked off the field when their goalkeeper was racially abused? La Liga punished them for it. Deducted 3 motherfucking points.
Ridiculous.
Like,
Shameful.
they're rewarding bad behavior and punishing. Like, we've all been saying, hey, like, just walk off the field. We would support you in doing that if it came down to it.
Yeah.
And La Liga's like, no, we're not punishing you. And then fucking Tebas coming out and saying, if you search child porn or whatever it is.
Yeah, what the fuck was that about?
Like, insane. The leadership in Spain is insanely bad. Yeah. Like, we just need to kind of just build it from scratch. Tear everything down.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of bad institutionalized things ingrained.
Yeah. No, for sure. And look, not to talk politics, but all those people and names that you mentioned are radicalized right-wing people that vote extreme right-wing political parties and are open and honest about it. So, hence me being far more lefter. Uh, yeah, in my political views.
Yeah.
Nothing extreme. Any extremist, obviously, any extremism is bad. But
Yeah,
uh,
I'm neither left or right, and I'm
mm,
like I'm sure like the whether it's right wing or left wing, there's just crazy people on either sides,
yeah,
and often in these cases, no one really cares to look at the nuances of all this and what we actually need and what. But I don't want to get into that at all. But
no,
just
I don't
I
either.
think we both agree though that like
Yeah, yeah,
there's a lot of ingrained problems. Um,
yes.
let's take a few super chats and then move to Real versus City.
Okay, yeah.
So this brings us back to how bad PSG are. Mr. Sushi says, Diego, do you not watch PSG in Ligue 1? They are trash, absolutely garbage. It's Mbappe and 10 other bums. Frankie versus Fabian Ruiz, really?
Frankie, who had been injured for how long, Mr. Sush? Listen, thank you for your generous donation as always and this fine question. We appreciate Mr. Sush on this pod very much. But listen, uh, Frankie de Jong, who was forcing his way back earlier than anticipated, as well as a Pedri.
You know what he means in the question. He's talking about Fabian versus Frankie de Jong overall, generally speaking. I love it.
Well,
When it comes to like Modric versus Xavi. When it's Cristiano versus
no,
Cristiano,
no, no, no,
Fabian
no,
versus
no, no, no,
Frankie,
no. Hold on a
I don't
second.
know. This one doesn't fit my agenda.
Not at all, dude. No, I'm not saying that at all. Listen, stop. His Medi, don't even fucking try. Because that's not at all what I'm saying here. At all. What I'm saying, do I think Frankie is greater than Fabian Ruiz? Absolutely.
Okay,
Do I?
that's the question.
Yes, okay. But I mean, where are these now all of a sudden supporters of Frankie throughout the season when they're saying that Barca are completely trash? Like,
Everything's relative.
I've been a supporter of Frankie. I think I see his value. I think he can still give more to the team as well. Um, but do I think that? And again, to reiterate my point, I said it at the top of the broadcast. I always fancied my chances against this PSG. I said our midfield is better, our defense is better, our goalkeepers are better. My three X factors for PSG were what, Kiyan? Come on, you remember you were attending that class. What were they?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Mbappe, Dembele, and Luis Enrique. I said that for those three
Well, you
reasons,
can remove Lucho from that list.
I fear PSG, and I think that came true, except for Mbappe, thanks to
And
some
Lucho.
masterclass defensive work from Koundé, Araujo, who was imperial. My God, was he good? But listen, there were some like late last minute gasp tackles that he had to make to prevent PSG from scoring. They could have scored more goals. They hit the post twice. Thanks to Araujo, thanks to Koundé, Kubarsi, and even Cancelo, Joao Cancelo made some massive slide tackles that were like goal-saving tackles. They still hit the post. And then that could, on another day, we'd be sitting here bitching about the Barca defense. No. I'm not taking any of this. Dembele was magnificent, as I knew he would be. Scored a cracking goal. Again, goes showcasing his versatility with both feet,
Big fan
his
of the
danger.
celebration.
Fucking that celebration
It was a
pissed me
great
off.
celebration.
And Lucho playing a very serious, battle against Xavi. I think that he's rightly criticized for his Marco Asensio bet, but
Get your digs in. Get your digs in to all the Madridistas. Who else? Any other Madridistas you want to say? Anyone
man,
else in
he
that
took him
squad?
off. I think he took Marco
Keylor,
Asensio.
Keylor Navas was
He took
terrible.
Marco Asensio off at halftime, Kiyan.
I think
You want to
Lucho.
argue?
It
Please
was
go ahead
clear.
and argue Marco Asensio's case right now. I would love to hear this.
It was pretty clear that Lucho made a mistake putting Keylor Navas in the squad. His presence on the bench was like the Madridista stink was like just affecting the entire.
I'm waiting for the Marco Asensio elogios now. Please.
Do you think Luis Enrique after the game took Dembele aside and was like, "Dude, this is our team. Like, I know I said like pretend to try, but Come on, we almost knocked our beloved team out in the first leg. Come on, why are you celebrating? Frankie or Modric?
Modric.
Okay. Nishlish Patil says, someone's question from the chat, how many PSG players will Diego start for Barca? Interesting.
That is interesting. You know what? I wouldn't mind Vitinha, to be honest. What's so funny? You're saying
you're going to die on this
Vitinha.
Vitinha hill. You're going to die on this Vitinha hill because you said it earlier in the podcast.
I thought, I think that I would love a defensive, a stopper, like
he's not starting
a holding midfielder, the likes of him. And that's no disrespect to Sergio Roberto, who again I thought was good on the day. Listen, well, I mean, come on. Mbappe, am I gonna not name Mbappe? I don't think so. And you know what? I'll take a Rafinha right now over a Dembele. Why not? I'm a Rafinha believer. I'm a backer of my boy.
I think it's 3, maybe 4. Mbappe, Dembele, Nuno Mendes. And
Mendes was good. Mendes was good, man. But
good offensively.
I
just he given the Balde injury, he would start.
I thought Cancelo was good though yesterday, man. Really, yeah, I liked him as well. I really did.
And maybe Marquinhos, although I don't know.
No,
I guess
no.
Over Kubarsi.
No, definitely not.
You start Kubarsi over Marquinhos?
I'm starting my entire backline over theirs.
Okay. All right, I think that answers the question, right? So yes. We're saying 3?
I'm saying 2.5.
2.5 after all the PSG hype. Mr. Sushi said first half was 9 versus 11. I don't know what that means. Maybe Asensio was one of the missing players. Who was the other one? Vitinha, probably. Mr. Sushi says, Diego, you and others have called Vinny a provocateur. I find that the same.
We've talked about
as what was said.
Mr. Sush, when you mentioned this, and please give me the freedom to call you Mr. Sush. Oh, a provocateur is
Mr. Sush. Okay.
What?
Nothing.
It has more of an erotic context than a racist one. So I don't know if somebody can show me the racist element in calling somebody a provocateur, then I'll retract or stand. Otherwise, I'll stand firm and say that in my eyes is not a racist comment.
I don't really know if that's what he's asking.
Oh,
but maybe I could be wrong. But I think he's asking like, we basically have to keep the same energy when both Vinny and Lamine Yamal get racially abused.
I've never supported the racist abuse towards Vinny. I've stood here and been very vocal about that. I have said that I think a lot of it could be avoided if Vinny wouldn't be.
No, but see, that's the problem, Diego. You can't even say that. How can you avoid racism by?
No, I think that, I mean,
you can't.
I don't want to get in the Vinny debate, bro.
No, but come on, but this is important, Diego. Like,
okay, fine.
If a racist,
what am I missing?
If a racist wants to be racist,
yes,
he's going to be racist, regardless. Like, you know what I mean? A racist doesn't need an excuse to yell at.
Okay, but then can I say something? So then, when you're hearing Vini Muerete, which is like saying chanting Vinny drop dead, right? When you tell somebody to drop dead in English, that's not hugely offensive neither. I mean, it's just some idiots Like, it's not racist to say that. They are going after Vinny in the way that he mm, looks for conflict with the surrounding fans, and I'm leaving racism out of that equation. That is not a racist. I'm not justifying it. I'm not calling it the right thing to do. I think they're idiots and they should keep their mouth shut, and that ideally has no place in sports, in society whatsoever. But to call that racism, like that isn't, again, what am I missing, please?
No, I just don't agree with this provoking nonsense, because you didn't get a racist abuse for Sergio Ramos, who was an absolute dick on the pitch, right?
He did, but like
But
I brought up the case of Piqué. The amount of songs that Piqué was dedicated, Vinny hasn't come to that point yet. The amount of abuse from his wife, his kids being wished dead, murdered, called homophobic slurs, etc., etc., all that stuff from in and around Spain.
yeah,
and nobody ever did anything about it. It was Piqué. I was like,
yeah, I get it, and that's not okay either. Like I'm not sitting here and saying that's okay, but what I'm saying, this whole provoking thing is nonsense. When the whole issue is that Militao and Alaba have also gotten racist chants. The goalkeeper in the Rayo Majadahonda game is not provoking anyone. Vinicius provoking is not a rebuttal to, like, oh well, if he didn't provoke, it wouldn't be like this provoking thing is a separate discussion. And by the way, like, this whole provoking thing, like, I don't know where it necessarily comes from. Could he keep his cool sometimes? Yeah. But keep in mind, like, if he doesn't keep his cool, the awareness of racism isn't as accentuated as much as it is. We call his reaction to physical challenges, to racist abuse, to verbal abuse, physical abuse. In the case of Vinicius Dai, if you don't want to call it racist abuse, just abuse in general. And then we sit here and call him a provoker for reacting to that. What comes first?
See,
anyway?
That's what I think is different. I think you always see Vinny in an innocent light that is reacting. It's action reaction, and I think
in most cases it is.
I disagree. I'll go. But okay, you don't. I do. So let me just give you my opinion. Okay. The same way that I would criticize Piqué when he says that he loved playing, for example, at Espanyol, because he says this abuse like motivated him and stuff. He would look for that as well, and I'm like, why would you be looking for that? Not all the time. Sometimes. Luis Enrique loved playing in the Bernabeu, getting the abuse. There was an element of provocation as well. Vinny is the same. And I'm leaving race completely out of it.
That's not.
And I think those that are mixing the race with provoking, they are doing a disservice to this debate. There's two debates to be held here. And I think, again, there's no place for any of it. But if a player goes into a game where they either it's action reaction from the player to the fans or fans from the players, it's wrong for both sides, but the player has to assume some responsibility, dude. And we have seen the scenes as well of the referee telling Ancelotti to calm down. Ancelotti saying, please calm Vinny down.
No, bro. A player can never assume responsibility for racism. Never.
No, but why are you bringing racism into it? Leave it out. Racism has no place. Punto. Out of this conversation. Yeah, I don't want to hear the word racism anymore.
Even if it's
I'm not talking about racism.
Okay, let's just be on the same page about this. Even if it was true that Vinicius is the most ultimate provoker of the century, no amount of provocation justifies any racism. Can we agree on that? Him provoking.
We always agreed on that. We're not breaking any news here. I just want to be on the
same page about that. That needs to be clear.
What the fuck? You have to ask me this after.
Yes, I do. The reason is because you bring up provocateur when we started the topic about racism. If the topic was like not about racism at all, then and you bring up, well, Vinny should.
Because when you provoke, okay, I'll tell you why. Because when you provoke, some people will lash out with verbal abuse and who are idiots, and then the extreme fucking idiots, dumbasses, will go that step further and bring racism into the element. Yes. Yeah. But and I'm not justifying any of it, but that is what it triggers, let's say. Yes.
Right. So I just think that it's funny the way we label one player a provocateur and not other dicks on the field, right?
No, I don't.
No, no. Just
I
let me
you,
finish. I know you keep interrupting and talking about like, well, PK went through this and all that. Okay, I get it.
I will list many, like 5 on the top of my head, provocateurs. Luis Enrique, Stoichkov, Piqué. Who else can we? I mean, we can go down the list and name many. Eric Cantona.
Yeah, but so you're proving my point. This is part of the game.
Then I'm missing the point.
The point is, this is part of the game. Everyone has a fire in their belly on the pitch.
Yes.
Whether it's Sergio Ramos, Antonio Rudiger, Carlos Puyol, Gerard Piqué, Victor Valdez, whoever. What Vinny is doing is no different than what we label as like, okay, trash talk is cool.
Okay.
It's cool when you do trash talk. When I play, I'm a complete dick. I'm 100% transparent about that. Like what Vinny is doing is not out of the norm.
No.
From a lot of these players we talk about.
Right.
But he is labeled as the provocateur. I know you're not doing that necessarily, but as a whole, generally speaking, just like you were disappointed with some of the reaction to the Lamine Yamal stuff, I get disappointed when we talk about Vinny provoking, a lot of this is media narrative driven. Okay. So for example, against Red Bull Leipzig, when Vinny pushes the Leipzig player to the ground twice and then yells at him and barks at his face, and everyone was like, what the hell is wrong with this? What the hell is wrong with this guy? Every single replay cut out the part where just before that happened, that same Leipzig player goes up to Vinny unprompted and sticks a finger in his face and literally pokes him in the face in his temple. They cut out that part completely. When Hugo Duro put Vinny in chokehold, they did not show that. They showed everything after, when Vinny was reacting, and reversed it and called him the provocateur when he was the one actually reacting to the whole thing. There was an instance, literally last game, was it against Athletic or 2 games ago? It was 2 games ago. I forget who it was against and what the situation was, but it was the same thing. Every single replay was about Vinny, with the part where Vinny, but they cut out the part before that where he's reacting to something. What Vinny's doing is not out of the norm, man. It's really not. But he gets labeled as the provocateur when he.
But he's not the first, nor will he be the last player to be labeled that. And the media narrative cutting
but editing. He is the poster child of it right now.
Well, right now, but he hasn't been the first.
But what he's doing is not out of the norm. I'm saying,
I don't think so neither. But some players do have, let's say, make it easy for the media to paint them in that light. He's not the first or the last.
But that's not their fault.
He's not the first or the last, Kiyan. That's what I'm saying. And there you need to leave race out of it.
Doesn't excuse it.
No, but you need to leave race out of it. When you say, but you're not racist, right? I'm like, what? Why are you asking me? I'm leaving that completely out of it.
Okay,
because of the names,
and
for example.
Let's push it aside. But this provocateur narrative.
There's other players that have been labeled like provocative.
What I'm saying is either you label every
Neymar
player
used to be as well, all the time. Neymar was exactly painted in that light.
None of them is what
Neymar was always painted in that light by the media, always. And you remember that very well.
I understand,
and other players
Diego.
have as well.
That's my point. Almost everyone is like this on the field. Everyone.
No, not everyone.
But we spin it with Vinny, and we 10x it for him is what we're doing.
Well,
we
again,
10x it for
I've
him.
seen it.
What he's doing is completely normal. Oh, okay. This was the situation, by the way. It was the Spain-Brazil friendly game. Morata comes out of nowhere and elbows one of the Brazilian players, pushes him, knocks him to the ground. Vinny, as the captain, with the captain's armband, runs over to Morata and gives him an earful, as he should, as I would do for any of my teammates sticking up for them. Much of the Spanish media, including what you saw on Twitter, was just the video of Vinicius yelling at Morata. But they cut out the part where just before that, Morata comes in and elbows the player. Vinny did nothing wrong in that clip other than defend his teammate, which was the right thing to do. But we span it a different way.
Sure. Okay. Can we move on? This is a very boring conversation for me. And
for you, maybe.
Because you're in outcry. Like, I wasn't, putting so much emphasis on this when this was happening to Neymar, and the exact same stuff was happening. Does it feel like for you it's more with
Neymar
Vinny?
wasn't on this level, I don't think, man.
Dude,
This
you
what
wouldn't know
Vinny.
because he
Yes.
was a Barca player, so
How many?
already
I
you're like
don't know. What do you think? I was living in a cave at that
no,
time?
but
I'm a
you
football
wouldn't be
fan.
that focused on it. You wouldn't be that focused on it like
No.
it is now with Vinny. And also,
First of all,
like
I
now
always defend Neymar. You
we
know
are at
that.
peak. We are at peak social media content. Sensationalistic headlines. Media or outlets are doing their very best to get clicks.
Bro,
And
no, come on. What Vinny is going
it's
through
its
is
peak right now.
unprecedented.
Yeah, I'm saying this is fomenting. This is like
Yeah. But this is part of what makes Vinny's situation unprecedented. Neymar was not on this level. Come on. It
okay.
wasn't.
Well, maybe there, you make a good point, and I can buy that from you. But it's boring for me because we both condemn it, and we both don't think that there is no place for it. Do I think that certain players make it easy and also are themselves culprits for what happens to them at some times? I definitely do think so. Do I think that Vinny is by himself in that? Absolutely not. Is he the first and will he be the last case? Also no. I've seen this before. And, we need to condemn it. Once racism comes into it, absolutely shut that book down. Harshest punishments all around. Sections of fans should not be allowed to attend. Little kids that do it, that where you see the parents, justifying it or condemning it, allowing it, they should be tossed out and learned a lesson and be made an example of. And the conversation ends there, bro. Like the conversation
it does,
ends
but
there.
I still think this provoking thing is a narrative and driven by media and fans, and it's gotten out of control, and it's not true. That's my ultimate point, I think.
Okay.
Willard says, I'm so glad I'm a Madrid fan, bro. I would not be able to watch my team play the ball back to the goalkeeper every time while trying to get back in a high-scoring game, referring to PSG's tactics, by the way. Okay. I don't know if there's anything to add to this. We pretty much exhausted PSG.
Yeah.
Playing bad. Nishlish Patel says, one of our YouTube members, when you say Spain is a racist country, the people who actually aren't racist will agree with you, while the ones who get offended by that statement are racist. I think this is probably generally true. This is ultimately what you're seeing.
Yeah. Or that are just ignorant. They're not aware. I think there's a lot of ignorance as well. I mean, at the end of the day, you could say racism is ignorance. Yes, I just think here a lot of people are like, but that's just a joke. Or as Trump would say, like, locker room banter, let's say, or they don't understand. They're new still. It's not like the rest of the Western world that have experienced longer a time where cultures are living together and immigration, not just immigration, but I mean like generations of immigration where how am I saying this? I feel like this is coming out clumsy. I mean, like countries that have experienced many generations of immigration are more sensitive and more, not just sensitive, but more, they see the wrong and the rights in those types of statements. How am I looking to phrase this? They are more, more educated in terms of accepting different cultures and is it making sense?
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say.
Ignorance
I feel like in Spain it's still they're still very new when it comes to understand. For example, like when the Spanish national team play. Let me give an example. I think that's better than me trying to explain my thoughts here. I get so disappointed when I open Twitter and I see pictures of the Williams brothers, Lamine Yamal, and Twitter accounts saying, "This is not my Spain." You know what I mean? Or it's like, "What has this country come to?" Or things of that nature. And I see it too much. Even once is too much, but I see it much more than that. And then the comments, and that's just very discouraging. And I'd be lying to you if I said that growing up in Holland, I never saw or heard stuff like that. But it was so few that the couple of times that I did hear it, like, marked me for the rest of my life. You know, I was a young kid then. I moved out full time from Holland at the age of 12. So, and I remember those times, and I was like, "Whoa, like what are you saying?" Like, it made me so sick to my stomach. I've always been like the anti one as well. I always feel like I've rooted more for like the black people. My favorite players have always been, you know, I can say I have a bit of a, you know, like, black admiration, black fetish as well, if you mind. I love black women. My first girlfriend was black. Can I say? It's true. Yeah, my idols, from Michael Jordan, Kluivert, Seedorf. That I've always been rooting more for those, like, let's say the underdogs, the minority, or I've always been more like, yeah, rooting for it, more vocal for it. And so I guess when I was confronted by those times where it was like the first times I heard people be racist, it was very shocking, very just aggravating, saddening as well to hear that. Anyway, I'm going on tangents here just to say that in Spain, to see that still today, I'm like, we still here in Spain have so much to learn, to educate ourselves, to not be ignorant about, and to catch up on with the rest of the developed world.
Real Madrid 14 UCLs says.
I say some fucked up. And I mean, this is our safe space, Kiyan. Nobody watches us.
Hopefully, no one will watch this episode.
Everybody knows me, and you know me. Everybody that knows me knows there's nothing but love and goodness in this heart. So don't even try.
Real Madrid 14 UCL says, Kiyan, what percentage we got at the Emtihad? Unfortunately, it's far from an Emtihad, and I give it the same as I gave it before the first leg, which is 40%. Man, we have so many super chats. We haven't talked about Real Madrid yet. I just remembered.
Well, then we've got to leave that for tomorrow.
What? Real Madrid?
The Madrid chatter, yeah. You've beaten that one to death anyway.
Yeah, but I didn't talk about it with you.
I know. Well, that's what tomorrow's for then.
All right. Where are we at? Where are we at? Why can't I find the rest of them? Here
That's it.
Man, Mr. Sushi is, what I've learned today is that Mr. Sushi has a lot of money. He's a very wealthy human being. This is the first of like 8 more.
We love Mr. Sushi.
Mr. Sushi says, all love to you, Diego, by the way. And yes, I'm talking about keeping the same energy. Nishlish Patel says the only provocation to get a racist remark as a response could possibly be another racist remark itself. So no, you can't provoke or avoid racism. Mr. Sushi says, why doesn't Haaland get the same treatment? Messi?
Yes.
No,
Messi
it's
did.
always.
Oh my God. Don't say Messi didn't get. Listen, I'm sorry, Mr. Sush. I will. You do your own research. You look up Google or YouTube, whatever, Messi in the Bernabeu, and listen to the chants that was aimed at Messi. And then if we deem that okay, then you know, again, I don't want to talk about this, man. Honestly, this conversation, abuse racism has no place. To say that, for example, somebody like Messi didn't receive it, he absolutely did. And Haaland, I can't speak for. I don't follow the Premier League, so I don't know.
Messi received racist abuse?
Well, he was called. He's called homo. He's received homophobic slurs. He's been made fun of for his illness, really, like his what do you call it? Growth defect. He's been called subnormal. He's been called all kinds of things.
Mr. Sushi has one more. He says, "Is Gavi a provocateur?"
Not with the fans. I think on the field, yes, but he's not somebody that diverts his attention to the fans around him.
Real Madrid 14 UCL says ESPN mentioned that Jude's antics has changed thoughts. I don't know necessarily, but they've been saying this about Jude actually for a long time. That he needs to calm down and stop getting in players and referees' face. He also says it's nationalism versus globalism. All right. Okay. I think. Thanks, guys. I think we're ready to move on. This was actually a bit exhausting. The super chats. Thank you for all the donations. Didn't expect it to be kind of this loaded and heavy.
But that's nationalism versus globalism. Yeah, I think that having a more worldly view is what is needed here. Yes.
Here's a lighter one. Anthony Tharp says, Diego, my wife and I will be in Madrid next week. Based on your time living there, do you have any recommendations for pubs to watch the live matches?
Yes. By Ruben Dario, I should say that a lot of it has changed since I lived there. It's been like 10, well, almost 10 years. There's a good pub near, no, was it Alon? I'm going to look it up. As we're entertaining the next one, I'm going to look it up, make sure that it's still there, but it's an absolute go-to. Give me a minute.
Okay, you look it up. I think Anthony might be a patron on Churros y Tácticas as well. So maybe he'll catch tomorrow's show. But if you have it today, it'll be a little bit easier so that we can deal with it today and not tomorrow. How are you doing for time? Do you want to tackle anything Real Madrid, or do you just want to wrap it up here? And
well, no, we can. Fine. Well,
why don't we do like 2 minutes on it, and then we'll do the bulk of it tomorrow over on patreon.com/churros y tácticas.
Okay.
Well, I'm assuming you have thoughts on it, but
yes, I'm like Googling for this pub. Okay, hold on.
Oh, okay.
I just thought, look, it was super duper entertaining. It writes another beautiful chapter in this new rivalry that is evolving between these two heavyweights. What I enjoyed watching was football being executed in that way, and I felt like, this is obviously before what we saw take place at the Parc des Princes, but I'm like, man, I did walk away from that game and go, these two teams are on another level. And it could have been a very well the final of the Champions League. Obviously, I'm happy it's not. It's the quarterfinal, and one of these teams will be knocked out because it's a clear title contender that will be knocked out of this competition prematurely. It was just great to watch. The way that Madrid came back, the way that Pep commanded early on, I was very excited to see Pep take the lead, Haaland getting that early chance. I felt like, wow, this could become like a historic thumping. And then to see, who was it? Well, it was kind of the own goal initially, right? And then Rodrigo scoring the 2-1. But to see Madrid come back like that was impressive and frustrating. And I then felt like maybe this is going to be not the same way that I felt like it could be a historic baño, like a thumping when Barca went down 2-1. But I did feel like, oh my gosh, Pep could start conceding more here. And it was quite the opposite. I mean, the control, I think, that we saw from City to not buckle was very impressive as well. And to, the back and forth, I thought they went back up, deservedly so. I felt that Madrid was losing the midfield battle, quite frankly. And the goal, nice assist from Vini, and the goal from Fede Valverde in the end, I felt was deserved. But there were minutes where where City could have ran away with it, or let's say a win for City wouldn't have been something that would have been outrageous or unjust, something that we would say wasn't just on the night, wasn't justified on the night. But in the end, 3-0 is a accurate result. It's, I think, a very good result for Madrid. I think you should be happy to have walked away with a 3-0. and live to fight another day in the Etihad. You know, it's now 0-0. You have to win the game. If I'm a Madridista, I would have walked away feeling like, wow, we avoided a loss, and this is a very good tie. I'm proud of my team, and let's hope we can repeat a similar performance over in the Etihad.
Did you just say we?
I said if I'm Madridista.
Oh, I thought you were calling yourself a City fan. Oh.
No. But those.
Yeah, I mean, I have a bit of a different interpretation with you on some of this. I think where Real Madrid fans and players are disappointed with this one is that, like, as Fede Valverde said it after the game, it felt like a loss. Because
that's the sense I got. Yeah.
Because we really felt we could have scored maybe 3 or 4 in the first half. The way the game was open and the amount of transition opportunities which we had, which Vinny and Rodrigo shot right at the keeper, or that one in the second half.
A lot of that, yeah.
Yeah, where in the second half there was that one where Rodri gives it to Jude. For a split second, there's like an open net, and then he kind of dribbles and then cuts left and then shoots it wide. Like, there was a few of those, but ultimately I think where we were disappointed on a couple levels was, one, it was not scoring more goals. 2, City were much better than us in the second half. And the way that Real Madrid explained it, from Fede to Rodrigo to Ancelotti after the game, they said because Real Madrid were at their best when they were pressing City, and they were at their worst when they started to defend. And the way that it was explained after the game was that we couldn't continue pressing because we were just too tired. And we're all looking around, be like, wait, 9 days rest?
Yeah.
And then there was like the alternate view was like, oh, but 9 days rest actually was a bad thing. We weren't match fit. Like, okay, I don't know what the science is anymore.
Yeah.
And so if we couldn't sustain it, what does that mean for the Etihad, where it's going to be harder? And I'm not ruling it out. I'll just tell you, Diego, based on what I've seen, unless it's a very loud minority, it seems like 80% of the Madrid fans have already accepted that we're out. Because
wow.
Yeah, because even before the first leg, it was like, well, we're getting.
I'll tell you, those are new age Madridistas that should be ashamed of themselves.
Yeah. Well, look, people like me, the elites. No, I'm just kidding. We've seen enough. We've seen enough Real Madrid for decades to know that you can't write us off no matter what in the Champions League. Doesn't matter how bad it looks. And mind you, we're not even behind in this tie right now. It's 0-0, right?
Correct.
But I think a lot of people are scarred from last season at the Etihad, and also 2 years ago when we lost 4-3, but it really should have been 7-3.
So these are the same people, though, that are calling City inferior from last year. And these are the same people that are calling Madrid better than last year. So all these tourists, because that's what they are, just a bunch of fucking tourists that are advantageous of the moment, will now come out with some silly-ass rhetoric as they don't understand the history or the position that they're in, like you rightly said.
Well, I think that kind of can still be true. I think it can be true that City are worse than last year and that Real Madrid are better than last year, but it also may not. But it also is true that it's still going to be tough, right? The reason I'm kind of
Go on. Sorry. No, the only thing that would concern me, I'm like, Bellingham was like an Mbappe case where you're like, wow, I didn't see Mbappe. Yeah, I mean Bellingham. Yeah,
he had. I mean, I think Madridistas hate when I do this whole thing when attackers don't score or assist and we're not their best, but I make an excuse for them. I think Bellingham worked really hard defensively in the first half. He was one of the reasons why our press was so good. If you watch it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, yeah, I agree. He wasn't at his best. So if you have maybe that's also part of the reason to be optimistic. You didn't have the best Vinny game. You didn't have the best Rodrigo game. You didn't have the best Bellingham game, and we still scored 3 goals, and we showed that we can hurt them.
Dude, exactly that, man. And you live to fight another day in the Etihad. Could Madrid have scored more goals? All those chances that you mentioned that went right to the City keeper, you're right. But they were weak shots. But it's like that happens in football as well. That they are not all beautiful curlers in the top corner
Yeah.
all the time, forcing Spider-Man like saves. That just doesn't happen all the time. Look, I felt like exactly that. I mean, both teams had their moments. It was a back and forth affair. It was very entertaining, very interesting. And by the way, the Bernabeu was decked out nicely as well. Before it was very, I love that mosaic.
Yeah.
I mean, that
It
was
was the
that was
best I've
stunning.
seen it in I don't know how many years, but years.
Yeah,
I
no,
wish
it
I
was.
was jealous not being there. Like,
I was gonna say, like, how did you feel not being there? You go to so many games.
very envious.
How did you not make this one? What is the reason
Well,
behind it?
typically the way we do it right now is that Lucas goes to the Champions League knockout home games and I go to the away games.
Oh, so you're going to Manchester then?
I'm going to Manchester next week, yeah.
But
I'm doing
when are you traveling?
I leave Monday. I'll be
Okay.
there Tuesday for training press conference. Very excited for my annual 10-second conversation with Pep Guardiola in the press conference.
Yeah.
Uh,
Are you gonna try to like ask that kind of question where like a Lucho type question, or I don't know, provoke him?
it's not my style.
I know it's not your style, but like, if it would be like if you could ask one provocative question to Pep, what would it be? Give us a treat.
I have to think about it, but maybe uh, I don't know. I have to think about it. You put me on the spot.
Hmm.
The funny thing was that I don't know if you saw this, but he had this wild like misinterpretation in of Ancelotti's words before the game. Did you see this?
No.
So the day before the game, Ancelotti, someone who asked Ancelotti in the press conference what happened last year at the Etihad with you guys, and he said Ancelotti said that we played without personality and courage. And and then when it was Pep's turn to talk, someone told Pep that Ancelotti said this, and then he goes, "I was watching this live. Like this is like he was like, no, no." And he started like wagging his finger, and he's like, "I don't agree. I have lots of respect for Carlo, but with Real Madrid, they always think that when they lose, it's because they played bad,
Uh-huh.
but they have to know that we were better." Like,
Mhm.
and he went on this whole tangent about like they have to admit that the other team was better than them, not that they played bad.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah,
dude, but I get what you're saying. I actually think that what you're saying is true. I think most anytime we talk about big teams losing, we talk about what we did wrong and not what the opponent
like
did.
now with PSG, yeah.
but I don't think that's what Carlo was saying at all. Like
Mm.
all Carlo was doing was self-reflecting and being self-critical. He wasn't like taking credit away from Sid. I just thought it was a funny kind of way that Pep interpreted it as like a dig almost, which it
Mhm.
wasn't like that at all. But I don't know. I just thought about that because you told me what I would ask Pep. But
Okay.
we do have 3 super chats left. We'll do it really quick because I know it's we're almost at an hour and a half now. We'll do the rest of Real Madrid analysis. You can see it on the bottom there, patreon.com/churros y tácticas. We do that every week only for members. We get into really, really juicy stuff. And if you want access to that every week, patreon.com/churros y tácticas, and we'll do more unpacking of Real Madrid City. Nishlish Agarawi says, sorry, Agar, is that an L? Yeah, Agarwal. My apologies. What can we do to create more threat in City's box? More of Joselu? Also, fans who think the tie is done shouldn't call themselves Madridistas. Just quickly, I think part of creating more threat in City's box is just continue to press more, because that generates the best artificial transition opportunities. That's when City were at their most uncomfortable. They're not. I guess they're not as comfortable when you just kind of lay back and let them pass it around you, because it's hard to score in transition against this team. First of all, they're good with their transition defense, and second of all, Their counter pressing is very good. So it's going to be limited how much you can actually hurt them in that sense. So more pressing is what I would say. And sustaining the press is obviously a problem. So you want to be more efficient on the transition attacks that you do have, unlike the first leg, and probably earlier subs, whatever it takes to just sustain the pressing for as much as you can in 90 minutes. It's just that we have to go to the Etihad and do this. And I think we have to be completely fearless with this. We can't sit back and let them be comfortable just because it's away from home. We have to impose our game.
Do you expect that?
Sorry?
Do you have any expectation that'll be the case?
Knowing Ancelotti, very risk-averse manager, probably not.
So you think what you said it's 40-60, right?
Yeah, I would give it 60% in City's favor. Real Madrid 14 UCLs. Those 3 City goals were all screamers. Just saying, yes, that's true. They were crazy goals, but we still could have prevented them. Reminded me of like when, I don't know if you remember when Rui Bao scored a crazy goal against us at the Benito Villamarin earlier this season. It was like this crazy goal from distance, top corner, far post. And it's not a goal you would normally concede. So you're like, who do you blame for this? Well, like, you actually could have closed the shot down. Same thing goes with the Foden and Guardiola goals. And the Bernardo Silva goal was just a bad ball and bad positioning from Lunin. We held City to XG of 0.6, which is pretty commendable. Like, that's not easy to do. Ask Pep when he's going to take a big break from footy. Yeah, I think we can even do better than that. If I really think about how to troll him, there's probably a better one than that.
You could think of something juicy for sure.
But I wouldn't do it either. Like, I wouldn't. I just want to.
No, I know. We're just having fun. We're just having fun.
I feel like Pep likes me. On like the 0.00001% chance.
Are you saying you and Pep should be buds?
Remembers me at all? He probably likes me in those 10 seconds. I think he likes me.
Listen, if he listens to Churros, he likes me. No, but you know what? I've never spoken to Pep. You have spoken to him on several occasions. Me, I have not had the pleasure or the honor to exchange words.
That's shocking. You got to get it. Can we get you in as press for Churros, you think?
Well,
we never tried that.
Press pass for Churros y Tácticas.
Yeah. Well, anyways, you're so busy during Barca games, but. All right. Cool, man. Diego, congrats on the win. Congrats on the return to Barca Studios. And
thank you.
We will see everyone tomorrow.
Listen real quick, though. Right. If our patron is still listening.
Oh, yeah. Anthony.
So I've looked for the bars. Indeed, the ones that I would frequent, they are apparently not there anymore. Madrid has changed a lot in this past decade. I really have to say it's impressive. I should go back. But Plaza Santa Barbara, there was a great bar that used to show the game. I think it was called, it might even be being called Cibeles at the time. Go there, Plaza Santa Barbara. It's by Alonso Martinez. There's many nice typical bars. These are not tourist places I'm giving you, by the way. So not really the pubs. These are more bars. Then an absolute must, and I lived close to here. I lived in Chamberí, but it's called Plaza de Chamberí. These are squares that I'm naming or like recommending you. Just have fun, walk around in these kind of squares, these areas, and choose a bar of your liking. But these are kind of the authentic, the castizo culture that characterizes a part of Madrid anyway. Go there, have fun, get lost in the streets, enjoy the culture, the food, the tapas, the goodness, the Madrid vibes, because it's one of the best cities in the world with some of the best people. And I'm jealous you're going. Have absolutely a lot of fun. Let me know how it was. Plaza de Chamberí and Plaza Santa Barbara by Alonso Martinez. Those are my 2 recommendations. Have fun.
Yeah. So Anthony, I don't know. I should know stuff like this because I know Madrid pretty well by now, but I've never actually watched a game in a bar in Madrid.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
But I would say like where we usually hold our podcasts, and we've done 2 there. Irish Rover is fantastic. And one of Eduardo's favorite bars. I was just looking at our WhatsApp group chat history. Triskel, Triskel in Malasaña. And also
Malasaña is great
Yeah.
barrio, great area. Yeah.
The other one, I really feel bad suggesting this because it's the most unauthentic experience ever. And Diego is gonna laugh when I say this place, but Vips,
Patty O'Reilly's.
McDonald's.
I thought you were talking bars here.
No, well, Vips, which is like
Vips. It's a classic. You got to go there. I mean, that's...
it's like, look, it's not like I wouldn't say like go there if you're in Madrid ever. It's a chain, right?
Yeah.
If you live there, kind of like the East Side Mario's, Boston Pizza, or whatever of Spain, I guess. It's not like the place you go to if you live there, or you do, but it's not like the place you get excited about. But they have a bunch of TVs. And
but don't watch the game there. No, this is about. I thought you meant to have like a burger or
no. I mean, if you're having a burger, go to like actual like good place. Yeah, but I'm saying just if you can't figure out where to watch the game and you need a screen, because sometimes like if you're in
let it be the last option on your list.
Airbnb, you may not have the channel, so you have to go somewhere else to find it. Is what I'm saying.
Right, but can I just let that be the very last option on your list? And if you do go to a Vips to watch the game and experience like the culture of Madrid while watching the game, and you're at Vips, no, you're at the wrong spot and you're missing out.
I agree. That's why I like take that suggestion with a grain of salt. If you're like desperate walking the streets trying to figure out where to watch the game, then do that. Okay.
All right.
But like it's really hard to watch La Liga in Spain. When I go, I just use the VPN and change it to Canada so I can watch my Canadian channels. But Movistar Plus, right? You have to have in Spain, which is expensive, and none of the TVs in the hotels or Airbnb have them.
Really?
Yeah.
That's weird. Here they do. There's a ton of bars where we're
in bars. Yeah. No, I'm saying like because I usually watch the games at home and not at bars.
Oh, okay. I got
in the hotels and the Airbnbs.
Right. Yes. Yeah. All right, Playboy, I gotta go.
All right, bro. Have fun. So guys, we'll see you all tomorrow over on patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas.
Not for an hour and a half though, folks. I'll tell you. Go over to Patreon, but don't expect this kind of goodness all the time. This was, hour and a half. This is good. And of course, thank you for all your loyal watchers and those that gave their donations. But this was a treat, I hope. Anyway.
It peaked at one part. You guys can guess what part it
was.
Dude,
for 90 minutes, an entire football match, we gave them Spanish football gold. This episode will be treasured. I know Taps will listen to this from beginning to end.
All right, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining live. And Diego, thank you, man. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
Peace.